Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are all well. Welcome to the Cape Town Museum of Childhood's Insta Chats. My name is Jeanne Fredericks and I am so happy to be with you guys today. Hello Annika, hello Deborah, hello Najwa. Thank you guys for joining. So yeah guys, this week the country is commemorating Child Protection Week. And so it started on the 31st of May and it runs up until the 7th of June 2020. And the theme for this week's Child Protection Week is Let Us Protect Children During COVID-19 and Beyond. So you might be thinking to yourself, now why does South Africa commemorate Child Protection Week? Why are we doing this? And so Child Protection Week is commemorated annually by the country, and it is to raise awareness of the rights of children as they are stipulated in the Children's Act of 2005. And so what I want to say to you guys is, if any of you have children, if you are your job requires you to work with children, if you interact with children in any way, I want to encourage you to actually you can Google and look for the act and actually read through it, because in order for our children to know their rights, we need to know them so that we can educate them about their rights. Okay, and I actually am doing that task of reading the act and kind of just making little notes on it, and it's a great piece of legislation and it's not too difficult to read or understand. And if you need help, just ask somebody who is in the profession, the helping profession, who kind of had to study the act and knows the act, and I'm sure the person will help you along. So please read the act so we can educate our kids. Hello Yusra, hello Genevieve, hi guys, welcome. Okay, so we hear every day, we read the newspaper headlines, we see on the newspaper, we drive down the street, we see the lamppost posters that says child was raped by uncle, child was killed in this area. But what does the stats actually tell us? So the Children's Institute has a lovely website called the Child Count, and it has stats on various things, and I just wanted to share some of the stats with you. And guys, again, if I'm looking down, it's because I decided to go paper today and not rely on technology. I'm just a bitchy bang today. But anyway, so in mid-2018, there were 19.7 million children in South Africa who were under the age of 18 years old. And then in terms of child murder, there were 803 counts of child murder that was reported, and the Western Cape had the highest count of child murder. So out of that 803 counts of child murder, the Western Cape reported 181, which was the highest in the country. Then with child rape, 15,453,000 counts of child rape was reported, and 3,094 were reports of sexual assault. Now those stats are very scary. It's very sad. I mean, I see people sending like emojis of sadness and so forth. But the scary thing about this is that with rape and sexual assault and other sexual offences, lots of the times it is underreported. So this is not even a true reflection of what's really happening within society. So on the flip side, there are such a lot of good organizations that are working in our communities to help assist and support survivors of rape, survivors of sexual assault, and just other organizations that protect or help protect the rights of children and women and so forth. And so today our special guest is Jeanne Bodenstein. She is the advocacy specialist at Rape Crisis. And we really need to support more of these organizations, because these organizations like Rape Crisis, they are educating people about their rights and about sexual offences and what they can do and how they can be better supported. And then they're also advocating for survivors of sexual offences. So please if you're passionate about this, if you want to do something to make South Africa, or even Cape Town, the Western Cape, a safer place for children, listen up to what Jeanne is going to say about the work that the Rape Crisis does. And if you can somehow fit in there somewhere, or she's also going to speak about what we as just the ordinary citizens, community members, what we can do to help protect our children. So yes, so now without any further ado, I'm going to welcome in Jeanne Bodenstein. Jeanne and I have a little fun fact. About 2 years ago, I worked at Rape Crisis. I was the court support program coordinator, and then just before that I was the Tutuzela Care Center program coordinator, and I worked very closely with Jeanne. Lots of the information that I know about the Sexual Offences Act, Sexual Offences Courts, and just about that sector, I learned a lot of that from Jeanne, who is extremely knowledgeable and extremely humble, and she loves to just share her knowledge about the sector with people. So I'm really happy to be speaking to her today. So I'm going to ask you guys to give that virtual round of applause as we welcome in Jeanne Bodenstein, the advocacy specialist at Rape Crisis Cape Town Trust. Okay, welcome everybody. Okay guys, we're just waiting for it to connect with Jeanne. And then guys, you know how it is. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to raise them. Okay, okay, let me try this. Okay guys, let's see if this works. You know, technology, it's not always on our side, but we pray it is today.
Sorry,
here we go.
I'm probably more knowledgeable on the Sexual Offences Act than on Instagram Live, which is a bit embarrassing. But
no, it's all good, Jeanne. I was happy to give you a little tutorial this morning. Just like a few minutes before we started, I sent Jeanne a little voice, and I was like, "This is what you need to do. When you see that little icon that says live, go in there, and then send me a request to join." But Jeanne, we're so happy to have you with us today. Welcome. It's so great to see you. I haven't seen you in forever, but I'm happy to chat with you. I just want to ask quickly, guys, on my side, Jeanne's, I can hear Jeanne, but the screen is sort of buffering. What do you guys see on your side? I just want to ask everybody what they see. As long as they can see your face, Jeanne, your beautiful face, I'm happy to chat to your
buffet face. Yeah. I also only see my buffet face.
Okay, I just want to see, guys, what do you guys see on your side? Do you see Jeanne? Is everything working well?
Like I'm waving. Can you see I'm waving?
Okay, Jeanne is waving, guys. Can you see the wave? Okay, it says the screen is blurred.
Okay, I'm going to go out and then come back again.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, guys, let's see if we can get Jeanne back in. Let's see now.
Oh, now I'm just frozen in a different space. Still frozen.
I'm not sure, Jeanne, how close are you to your, oh, but you said you have fiber. So.
I'm right next to the router. Like I'm basically sitting on top of the router.
Okay, I wonder if us move away a little, because maybe just move and into another room and see what it does.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Okay. Let's try this one more time, guys. Otherwise, we might have to do like we did with Davida Mitzi and just have a frozen Jeanne. Let's see.
No.
Okay, still. Okay, let's see, Jeanne. I think let's just go ahead. This was one of our guests as well, where it was just a frozen face, but as long as I think as people can hear you,
sure.
It should be fine.
I'm just going to go out and make a nicer frozen face.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Even the frozen face has to be on fleek, guys. It's a good tip that Jeanne has given you. If you have a frozen face, just make sure it's a good frozen face. Okay. Hello, Aziza. Hope you're well.
Oh, see, I just...
Oh, no. Let's see. Deborah, I have no problem being more expressive. My eyes are quite expressive, so okay. There we go. Woo!
There we go.
Hallelujah.
I mean, I just have to smile at the video. I'm just going to keep it very still.
Okay, Jeanne, it's so good to see your face. How have you been? How have you been keeping busy during the lockdown? I just want to say one fun fact, guys. When I worked at Rape Crisis with Jeanne, she would come in with these like tights and she'll be like, I made this last night. I'm like, oh my word. Just like a dressmaker that comes in influencer fashion. Yeah, so how have you been keeping busy during the lockdown?
I mean, I don't want to lie and say that I didn't sew at all. I did a few kind of winter projects, made a pair of pajama pants, which is really nice. And then, I mean, I think the first probably 1.5 months of lockdown was quite manageable. I am an introvert, so yeah, I didn't struggle too much, but now I just want to not be at home anymore. But I'm very grateful that I can work from home. And it's actually been, I think that the whole country and definitely the GBV sector and Rape Crisis has really managed to adapt quite well without any warning to the new set of normal. So, I mean, I've never dreamed of being on an Instagram live video. Now, I mean, hopefully in future I'll be doing a better job of getting logged in. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's really been a learning curve for all of us. And yeah, I'm grateful to be yeah, doing all right.
Okay, Jeanne, I never thought that you were an introvert, eh? But
really?
Yeah, no, I feel like you're always quite bubbly and like, hi guys, and okay, well, I guess you're an introvert, and that's good to know.
Yes, then afterwards I go and nap.
Oh. Okay, Jeanne, so I actually got this wrong, guys, on the little post on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. I'm sure you've seen that I said that Jeanne is the Advocacy Coordinator. She was that, I don't know when you left or when you kind of leveled up from that title, but she is now the Advocacy Specialist at Rape Crisis. So what does it actually entail? What does your job entail? What does it mean when you say, my name is Jeanne Bodenstein and I'm the Advocacy Specialist at Rape Crisis?
So, I mean, yeah, it was basically just a shift in the role a bit from the beginning of this year. And the campaign, Rape Crisis, Rape Survivors Justice campaign, which is the campaign that I coordinated and I now give the kind of strategic guidance for, really grew in the past couple of years. And so there was a need to add more personnel. And so my role is to focus specifically on the kind of policy, legislation, research side of the work, and to give the kind of technical expertise, while a colleague of mine specifically focuses on community mobilization and interaction and organizing and stuff like that. Yeah, so I mean, what I do mostly is to read and to ask people questions and to try and see basically wherever our campaign is at the moment, which I think we'll chat a bit about later, where the decision makers are, who the decision makers are, and how we can influence them. So a lot of my role is based on building relationships with external people to the organization. That was quite difficult in the beginning for me as an introvert. It requires quite a lot of networking, but I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying having those relationships and kind of knowing who to ask for what. Yeah, so that's a big part of my role.
Okay, and then just who are some of the people that you do network with? Who are the decision makers? Who are the people that you're kind of talking to? And yeah, just to give us a idea with the people that you interact with.
Yeah, so that would depend on kind of what decision needs to be made, right? So for quite a big part of our campaign so far focused on sexual offences courts. And so I had to interact with the Department of Justice, for instance, the Deputy Minister of Justice, the Chief Directorate of the Vulnerable Groups Unit. We had to get legislation pushed through Parliament, which required us to build relationships with members of the Parliamentary Justice Committee and the legislative drafters in the Department of Justice. So, I mean, if we talk about TCCs, it's more focused on, for instance, the NPA, who is responsible mainly for TCCs. And they have provincial coordinators. To some extent, the Department of Social Development, because they make a lot of the policy decisions about support services that are provided to survivors.
Okay. Yeah. And then, Jeanne, before we talk a bit about what Rape Crisis does, the amazing work that Rape Crisis does, I think a lot of people in their minds think that they know what the definition of rape and sexual assault is. And I mean, I also thought so, but and then I came to Rape Crisis and I was like, oh, okay, that's actually what rape is. That's what sexual assault is. Sexual assault is. That's what compelled rape is. Can you give us a definition of rape and sexual assault?
Sure. So the definition of rape is basically has two parts, right? The one is that someone penetrates someone else without their consent. And this is quite a wide definition. It was a lot more narrow before the new act. So the penetration doesn't have to be with a genital organ. It can be with another object. But what's really important is obviously that it's not with consent. And then the act sets out a whole range of situations where even if it sounds like consent, actually it's not consent. For instance, if there is a great power imbalance between the perpetrator and the victim, if someone is under the influence of alcohol or another substance to such an extent that their decision-making process and their ability to provide informed consent is affected. But also instances where, for instance, someone says, "Ooh, I have to have sex with you because that will cure you from an illness or a demon," and then the victim says yes, but obviously it was under false pretenses. So yeah, the penetration and the consent are the main elements of rape. And then the difference with sexual assault is that there isn't the requirement for penetration. So if someone touches someone else inappropriately, or kind of touch their genital parts inappropriately, and it's without consent, then that would be considered sexual assault. So the police often think that it's easier to prove because you don't have to prove penetration, but probably the most difficult thing to prove is the lack of consent. Bearing in mind that rape often takes place in places where there aren't a lot of people around, like in a home or wherever, and then it's really difficult to prove that.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing those definitions with us, Jeanne. So now can you tell us a little bit about the work that Rape Crisis does to educate, advocate and support survivors of sexual assault and even their families?
Yeah, so Rape Crisis's work is divided into 3 programs. So the first program, which is probably what we best known for and definitely what we've done for the longest time, which is the Road to Recovery, where we provide counseling to survivors, their families, people affected. This is often done at one of our 3 offices in Cape Town, Khayelitsha and Athlone, Observatory, Khayelitsha and Athlone. So yeah, that's often how people get into contact with us. And then the second program is the Road to Justice, which you would obviously know very well because that's where we met. And the 2 services there is the court support services, where we offer support at a court to people who have to come and testify or who have to meet the prosecutor. Often that means going into the courtroom with the survivor, acting as a human buffer to having to see the perpetrator. And the other service is the TCC service, where we provide containment counseling to people who access TCC services or specialized forensic units when they have to get the forensic testing done and receive the medical care, where you can also report if you don't want to go directly to the police station. But then we also have a 24-hour helpline where people from across the country can phone and often ask questions about what to do next, or I just found out that my child has been raped, what do I do now? So that's a really important service. And then something that is in the last program, which is the Making Change program, and that's where the training and development teams go to communities, provide awareness raising workshops on the myths and the stereotypes, how to access the criminal justice system, sexual and reproductive health rights, and then obviously also the advocacy project.
Okay, I just want to go to one of our viewers' questions. David asks, what happens if there was first consent and then one person changes their mind and the other person does not respect that? Would that count as rape?
Yeah. So consent means actually really consent at every step. So if, for instance, you consented to kissing and touching, and then you don't consent any further than that, but your partner or whoever you're with continues, then that would be without consent. So often those cases obviously are really difficult to prosecute because there was consent up to a certain stage, but not further. And that's what's really important, that people who go to the police or people who eventually have to speak to the prosecutor or testify in a case are supported. Because it is difficult to tell such a story, and often to give a level of detail, and the support is really important.
Thanks, Jeanne. Okay, we're gonna go now. We're gonna speak a bit about the advocacy campaign, which is this. Oh, the name just slipped my mind now.
Yeah, the Rape Survivors Justice
Campaign. There we go.
Mouthful.
It's been years. I must share the story. So it was at the rape crisis that I found my love for protesting. So through the Rape Survivors Justice Campaign, I was in front of Athlone Court, the Athlone Court there, and we were protesting for Specialized Sexual Offences Court. We were in front of Kailicha, the court in Kailicha, protesting for Specialized Sexual Offences Court. And then last year for Child Protection Week at our organization, I was like, guys, we are going to have a silent protest. And we stood in Klipfontein Road. We had lots of organizations joining us. And we stood with our posters and our long banner that said, put young children first, you know. And for me, there's such a lot of power in protest, because you really are, you become the voice for those who have been silenced or those who can't speak out in their situation. So thank you, Jeanne, for giving me that platform and to exercise that right. And, you know, I always enjoy the protests. So tell us a little bit about the campaign, because it's not just about protesting, there's more than that.
No, but I mean, the protesting, I think, is a very important role, and finding good marshals like yourself is key to the success. So the Rape Survivors Justice, yes, with the yellow jacket. So the Rape Survivors Justice Campaign was established in 2016 because rape crisis did research for quite a long time about what the gaps are in the criminal justice system. So why survivors find it difficult to enter the criminal justice system. And a lot of that had to do with a lack of support, not knowing what's going on in their case, not knowing how the court works, not knowing where they can complain to. And so we realized that specialized sexual offences courts really can do a lot to address these gaps. And part of the reason why we believe this would be a successful campaign is because government has made, I mean, it was kind of on-off commitment to roll out sexual offences courts. But we believe that if we have a focused advocacy campaign, we can really push them to roll out these courts across the country so that every survivor has access. And so specialized courts are special because they have special infrastructure. And often this is something that is overlooked. We don't need fancy chairs or coordinated bathrooms, but measures like ensuring that the survivor who has to come and testify doesn't come into contact with the accused when they walk from the waiting room to the courtroom. That's something that can be incredibly jarring for someone to have to experience. But also a waiting room that is comfortable. Often people have to wait for quite a long time. Bathrooms that are easily accessible, being accessible to people with disabilities and elderly people. So that's kind of the infrastructure component. And then specialized services, for instance, court support services provided by NGOs. I mean, the reality is that there aren't NGOs across the country that do provide this service. So sometimes it is provided by the National Prosecuting Authority. But having at least access to a social worker, and then obviously specialized personnel. So prosecutors that really know the Sexual Offences Act, magistrates that really know the Act and the law, interpreters that are really specially trained, intermediaries that help children to testify that are well trained. So these courts really aim to provide support to victims, to put victims and their comfort at the center of the process, but also to ensure that sexual offences cases, which are really difficult to prosecute, get prosecuted by experts.
Okay. Jeanne, I think lots of people don't really know what to do. So you might have a child that gets raped, and then you're like, oh my word, what do I do now? Do I take the child to go shower so that they can feel better?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the steps to reporting rape? What are the do's and don'ts? What do people need to do? What is the first point of call for people?
Sure. So the first step is obviously to make sure that your child is physically safe. And that's something that we often overlook, but physical safety is probably the first step. And then do not bath or shower the child, do not change their clothes. Even though this is really uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable for adults, it's uncomfortable for children, that it really is the best way to preserve any evidence. And then I think, I really want to stress the fact that that parents need to believe their children. So if it's uncomfortable if a child accuses their stepbrother or their stepfather or their grandfather, but it's really important to not try and prove or disprove that accusation, but to believe your child and to treat them and make them feel that they are safe and that you're on their side and that you will get them the help that they need. And then you have two options to report. The firstly is obviously to go to the police station. That's often people's choice because that's the closest. But you can also take your child to a forensic unit like a TCC or another specialized forensic unit, or even to the hospital's emergency, and they will two things happen at a forensic unit. The first is obviously that the child receives the medical care that they need. And that often means antibiotics or post-exposure prophylaxis. If they have physical injuries, that's taken care of. But then also that they receive the containment counseling that they need. And that often means just helping them to understand what's going to happen in this process. And then obviously a big part of that is for the forensic evidence to get collected. That will be done by a special doctor or nurse. And it's really important that that gets collected as soon as possible to preserve the evidence. And even if the case doesn't go to trial later, it's still important that it gets collected. And then afterwards, the child will be given the opportunity to shower. If they go to a GCC, they'll get a comfort pack. And I think that, parents and family members and community members have a really important role to play in making children feel that they are believed, that they have people on their side. And then obviously the police will open a case. They will complete a statement. If the child is old enough to give a statement, they'll do that. They might also give the statement, take a statement from the adult who the child reported to first. But what's really important, and I want to stress this, is that there is an obligation in the Sexual Offences Act that if you are an adult and you become aware that a child might have been sexually assaulted or raped, that you have to report that. It's not an optional thing. I think that's really important. And to make sure that we believe children, and that they can trust adults who is supposed to protect them.
Okay, Jeanne, this is my last question. I don't know if any of you guys are watching have any more questions, but if you do, please do make them known. So many people, it's Child Protection Week, or they hear this horrible stats, or they see in the newspaper and they're like, what can I actually do to help protect a child or make my community a safer place for children? So what are some of the things that you can encourage people to do to help make their communities safer spaces for children?
Yeah. I think one of the things is really to hold other adults accountable for their behavior. If we see our friends or our family members acting inappropriately towards children, or even in front of children towards one another, that it's really important to call that out and have the conversations. But also, I think to be trusted allies for children, so that they feel that they can disclose if they had an uncomfortable experience with someone. And then to not ever dismiss something as it was just an unwanted kiss, or it was just someone touching you, or it just happened this one time, it won't happen again. So if someone touches your child inappropriately and your child tells you to deal with that as a serious matter, and to not make it off as like a once off, or I'm sure it won't happen again, or I'm sure they're sorry. We must really, and I think that's why sexual offences courts and specialized forensic units are important, because it helps us to send a message to perpetrators that it's not okay, and we need to mirror that in front of children. We need to set the example of holding people accountable.
So Jeanne, this is a bit of a bonus question. You have worked at Rape Crisis for the past few years. Has there been any moment in the time at your organization that's been a real highlight for you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and this is a bit of a nerdy highlight, but that's just, I mean, that's just how it goes. So for a long time, we wanted to really change the Sexual Offences Act to include provision for sexual offences, so that that it's actually in the law that the minister can establish sexual offences courts. And that was really important because it's about accountability and holding government accountable to do what they said. And it was quite a long process to eventually get that section written and get it through Parliament. And then there's like a little kind of tracking on the internet where you can track laws kind of through the parliamentary process. And I was so excited the day when the president signed that piece of legislation. And I remember, because it's such a nerdy thing, there were very few people in the organization that actually was like, oh, well, people were like, this is amazing. But I helped to draft the sections like on my Word document. And I was like, oh my word, this is so great. I helped to write the law. Yeah, that's probably still, one of my highlights. Obviously, yeah, I mean, we saw some great upgrades at the Khayelitsha court. That was a result from our protests, which was also really, a really great moment.
Good, cool. So, Jeanne, if people want to find out a bit more about Rape Crisis, I know a great booklet that.
Sure. I mean, our social media page is quite lit. It has all the information that you need, including our helpline numbers and our WhatsApp number. And that's on Facebook, Rape Crisis Cape Town Trust, which, it's quite easy to find. We have, I think, a purple logo. And then the other for information is our website, www.rapecrisis.org.za.
Okay, great. Okay, Jeanne,
and all our booklets and stuff are there.
Okay, cool. And also, just so that people know that the booklets are in English, Afrikaans, and isiXhosa, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Jeanne, so we always end off our Insta chats with a little game that we play with our guests. It's also for us to get to know you a little bit, and then also just to test your vocal cords. I'm just going to put it out there.
Okay.
But I feel like you sang, didn't you sing at church? Weren't you like in a band or something? So...
Yes, until they kicked me out. No, I'm kidding. They haven't kicked me out yet.
Okay, a quick game. It's basically just a chance for you to reflect on your childhood. So I'm going to read out a statement and you just say the very first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Your favorite childhood TV show?
Ooh, the one with the bears. Gummy bears.
Yes.
Na, 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 na.
Okay.
They were my favorite.
Your favorite childhood outfit or piece of clothing that you just love to like wear?
Ooh, I had like a bathing suit, like a one-piece pink with black polka dots, and I just love to kind of paddle around in the splash pool. those little blow-up splash pools with that.
Oh,
Just
yes.
love that.
Okay, your favorite childhood food?
Maltabella porridge. It's it's I don't see it in the shops often anymore, but it's it's before the time of pernutro, so you have to cook it like oats,
Okay.
but it's fine and kind of brown. It had like a chocolate vibe.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else can remember it.
I don't know of it, but
But also peanut butter sandwiches.
Okay, yes, chokers.
Yeah.
Your favorite childhood singer or band?
Spice Girls.
Yo, can I just tell you, we probably had so many people. Last week, our guest, Jessica Blom, was like Spice Girls. So, Jeanne, this is how it works. Some of us can't remember like who the Spice Girls is, but if you maybe sing us a song, it'll help us
Yes,
remember.
I have a song that is in my head quite often. Stop right now. Thank you very much. I need somebody, and I can't remember now. Hey, now. Na 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 na. I don't know how they made so much money. I mean, they sold.
Listen, who was your favorite Spice Girl?
Not Baby Spice. The one with probably the one with the red hair, Jerry Halliwell.
Oh.
What?
Who is she?
Ginger Spice.
Ginger Spice. There we go. There we go. Yes, that's correct. Okay.
Like I mean, we had these little like concerts in school, and yeah, there was always someone else playing Baby Spice, and so I was like, I don't care about Baby Spice.
Okay. If you could describe your childhood using one word, what would it be?
Books.
Okay, great. So, Jeanne,
I read a lot.
Actually, tell us, what was your favorite childhood book then?
So I read. So there was Sweet Valley High.
Okay.
Which I really like. It was like a series. But I grew up as an only child. And so I just read and read and read and read and read. But Afrikaans, there was an Afrikaans series. I don't know if anyone watching it knows it. Maasdorp was about this girls' school in some rural area. They just did a lot of, I don't know, like crazy adventurous things. And I probably read that series of 12 books like thrice. Like I really just enjoyed that very much. Like it was my dream to someday make enough money so that I can make that into a movie. But
I thought you were gonna say Mulanders. I remember reading Mulanders in Afrikaans class, and then we got to watch it sometimes during the periods. It would be the best. Like we're going to Afrikaans to watch Mulanders. Oh my word! And I think it actually comes on SABC 2 now. I think sometimes it comes on. I think so. I think I've seen it.
Nice.
Okay, Jeanne, but thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to come and
thank you.
Join us today and just share some very important information. And please let the people know, Drive Crisis, that we appreciate what they do and we will support them and back them, and they must continue on their journey to support survivors of sexual offences. And yeah, just thank you for the time. Be safe during this lockdown, and yeah, it's been great.
Thank you. It was really nice chatting to you. Thank you for having me, and I promise I'll do better next time with the coming on and not buffering. Like I think I figured it out now.
Yes, and now you can go teach somebody else. You know, you might get like somebody who needs help, and even like, don't worry, I know how to join an Instagram.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the emojis. We see you guys. We appreciate you guys. And yeah, please, I'm sure you found this video quite important, and the just the information that was shared. Please, send it to other people, share the link so that people can know what they need to do, especially when it comes to that steps, you know, to reporting rape and so forth. Please share this. It's important for people to know this information. Okay, guys, have a lovely Thursday. Thank you, Jeanne. Say hi to Marcus and your cat and continue making this professional clothing that you're doing. And yeah, thanks, guys. Bye.
Oh, net van batterijen.